When you get older, no matter how hungry you are, never eat these 3 foods for breakfast. When you get older, it feels like your body starts playing by a different set of rules. Things you once got away with, like skipping meals or eating whatever you wanted, start catching up with you. Breakfast, often called the most important meal of the day, becomes even more critical. But here's the kicker. No matter how hungry you are, there are 3 specific foods you should never eat for breakfast. It's not about being fancy or restrictive, but more about protecting your body in the long run. Let's dive into why avoiding these foods matters, how they can sabotage your day, and what science has to say about it. First, let's talk about sugary cereals. Let's take a stroll down memory lane, shall we? Think back to when you were a kid, sitting at the breakfast table with your bowl of sugary cereal, probably with a cartoon character grinning at you from the box. Those brightly colored flakes, promising a sugary burst of joy with every bite, made mornings feel like a mini celebration. You'd pour that milk in, and the cereal would start floating around, a little sugar cloud in a sea of milk, just waiting for you to dig in. But here's the thing. While that cereal may have been fun and quick, it's not the breakfast your body craves, especially as you get older. Most of these sugary cereals are, honestly, sugar bombs in disguise. They're packed with refined carbohydrates and next to no fiber or protein, which is basically a recipe for disaster. So, let's break this down. When you eat sugary cereals, your blood sugar spikes almost immediately. It's like jumping on a roller coaster, zooming to the top of that first peak. You feel a rush of energy for a brief moment, like you could take on the world. Maybe you feel productive, even a bit invincible. But then comes the inevitable dip. The sugar high crashes, and just like that, you're left feeling sluggish, tired, and hungry. Yes, hungrier than before. Sounds like a cruel joke, right? But it's real. Your body quickly burns through that quick sugar and is left with little to fuel the rest of your day. Now, here's where it gets tricky. That sugar crash doesn't just make you feel like you need a nap, it messes with your body's hormones too. When you eat foods with high sugar content, like sugary cereals, you're essentially playing with fire in terms of your blood sugar regulation. Over time, your body becomes less efficient at handling those sugar spikes and crashes. It starts to develop something called insulin resistance. Insulin is the hormone that helps your cells absorb glucose, or sugar, from your blood to use as energy. But when your body has to deal with constant sugar overload, it stops responding to insulin as efficiently. And that's when things get messy. Insulin resistance is the gateway to a whole host of problems, and over the years, it can lead to type 2 diabetes. It's a chronic condition that's becoming more common, especially as we age. Studies have shown that regularly eating high glycemic foods, like sugary cereals, can seriously mess with your metabolism. Take the research from the Journal of Clinical Nutrition, for example. They followed people over a 10-year period and found that those who consumed more high glycemic foods were more likely to develop blood sugar issues. These foods include sugary cereals, and they all have one thing in common: they mess with your insulin levels. It's like planting a ticking time bomb inside your body. Over time, the more you mess with your insulin, the more likely it is that you'll end up with type 2 diabetes or other metabolic issues. But wait, it gets even worse. You might think, okay, I can have a sugary cereal every now and then, no big deal. But here's the thing. If sugary cereals are your go-to breakfast every day, you're setting yourself up for a cycle that's hard to break. After that crash, your body craves more sugar, and before you know it, you're reaching for another unhealthy snack, maybe even before lunch. This can create a constant pattern of needing that quick sugar fix, making it harder to break free and choose something more balanced. It's a cycle of constant highs and lows, and eventually, it just doesn't feel good anymore. So, next time you reach for that box of sugary cereal, remember this: it's not just about the taste. It's about what that sweet bowl is doing to your body. You're giving yourself an immediate rush, but at what cost? Over time, that seemingly harmless sugary start to your day could be quietly setting you up for bigger health issues down the road. So, maybe it's time to rethink your breakfast routine and look for something that won't leave you hanging. Your body will thank you for it, trust me. Next up are processed meats. Let's dive into the sizzling world of processed meats, shall we? Now, who doesn't love the sound of bacon sizzling away in a hot pan? Or the comforting aroma of sausage in the morning? These have been staple breakfast choices for decades, and many of us have fond memories of enjoying them on lazy weekends or holiday mornings. But here's the kicker: while bacon and sausage might seem like the ultimate breakfast indulgence, they come with a hidden cost. One that, over time, could catch up to you in ways you might not even realize until it's too late. Processed meats are loaded with sodium and nitrates, two ingredients that might seem harmless on the surface but can create big problems as you age. Let's start with sodium. Sure, we all need a bit of salt in our diets, but processed meats often have way more than your body actually needs. And what happens when you consume too much sodium? Your blood pressure starts to rise. Now, a little spike here and there isn't a huge deal, but over time, that constant high sodium intake can lead to chronic high blood pressure, also known as hypertension. This is a major concern because high blood pressure is one of the leading causes of heart disease and stroke, both of which are serious health risks, especially as you get older. Imagine your arteries as a network of highways. When your blood pressure is high, it's like driving on those highways with the gas pedal stuck to the floor. Everything is moving at full speed, and that puts a lot of strain on the walls of your blood vessels. Over time, this can cause damage and lead to some serious health complications. So, while a strip of bacon or a sausage link may seem like an innocent indulgence, it's actually slowly nudging your health in the wrong direction, especially if you're making it a regular part of your breakfast routine. But it doesn't stop there. The other culprit in processed meats is nitrates. These preservatives are used to give bacon, sausages, and other processed meats that signature pink color and longer shelf life. On the surface, they might seem harmless, but when nitrates are heated, like when you're cooking your bacon, they can turn into something much scarier: nitrosamines. Now, nitrosamines are compounds that have been linked to an increased risk of certain cancers, particularly colorectal cancer. And, I know, that's a tough pill to swallow. It's one thing to hear about something being bad for you, but when it's tied to something as serious as cancer, it definitely gives you pause. You might be thinking, okay, but it's just bacon. How bad could it be? Well, let me hit you with some data. A large-scale study published in BMC Medicine looked at the dietary habits of 500,000 people over a long period. And guess what they found? The more processed meats people consumed, the higher their risk was for early death from heart disease and cancer. That's right, those casual breakfasts of bacon and sausage were quietly contributing to some serious health risks down the road. And while having bacon every once in a while probably won't lead to an early death, if you make it a regular breakfast choice, over time, it could really start to take a toll. And let's not forget how bacon rarely comes alone. You don't just have one crispy strip of bacon, do you? It's usually served up with a side of greasy hash browns, maybe some eggs fried in butter, and toast with a generous spread of jam or butter. Now you've got a full plate of foods that are high in fat, sodium, and calories. This combination of foods can lead to a double whammy of health problems: high blood pressure, cholesterol, and an increased risk of heart disease. Check, check, and check. So, while it might feel comforting to start your day with a plate of bacon and eggs, it's important to think about the long-term consequences of those choices. It's not that you have to give up bacon entirely. Life's about balance, right? But making processed meats a regular part of your breakfast could slowly be chipping away at your health. It's one of those things that doesn't show up on the scale or in a lab test right away, but over the years, it adds up. And before you know it, you're facing a whole set of health challenges that could have been avoided with a few smarter choices in the kitchen. Finally, let's address pastries. Pastries. Who can resist the charm of a freshly baked croissant or the allure of a warm muffin paired with your morning coffee? They seem like the perfect indulgence to kickstart the day, don't they? You may have even convinced yourself that enjoying a flaky, sugary pastry every once in a while is an innocent pleasure. But let me tell you, these little delights are far from innocent when it comes to your health. In fact, they are like nutritional landmines, ready to explode once you've taken that first bite. Most breakfast pastries, whether it's a buttery croissant, a sugary muffin, or a slice of Danish, are packed with refined sugars and unhealthy fats. This is not exactly the breakfast of champions. What's worse is that they contain little to no protein or fiber, which are two crucial components your body needs to stay energized and satisfied throughout the day. Without protein and fiber to slow down digestion, the sugars in these pastries hit your bloodstream like a freight train. You might feel that instant sugar rush, that quick burst of energy. But here's the catch: this spike in your blood sugar is quickly followed by a sharp drop. And when that crash hits, it's like the wind has been knocked out of you. You feel sluggish, irritable, and more than likely, you'll be reaching for another sugary snack to bring yourself back to life. It's the classic blood sugar roller coaster, and trust me, it's not a ride you want to be on. Now, let's talk about the calories. Pastries are calorie dense, which means you're consuming a lot of energy without actually feeling full. It's like tricking your body into thinking it's getting what it needs, but it's not really satisfied. You're essentially filling up on empty calories. This is a problem for several reasons. Not only does it leave you hungry soon after eating, but it also messes with your metabolism over time. If you regularly start your day with a pastry, you're setting yourself up for a battle with your waistline. After all, pastries are often high in sugar and fat, and those extra calories add up quickly. Take a look at the research on this. A Danish study published in Obesity Research and Clinical Practice examined the impact of diets high in refined sugars and saturated fats. The results? They found that these kinds of diets, which include a lot of pastries, contributed to weight gain, especially the kind of weight gain you don't want, the visceral fat. Visceral fat is the dangerous kind that wraps around your organs, like your liver and intestines. It's not just a cosmetic issue, it's a health issue. Visceral fat is closely linked to an increased risk of developing metabolic syndrome and heart disease. So that seemingly harmless croissant or muffin? Yeah, it's anything but harmless in the long run. Imagine this: you grab a sugary pastry as a quick breakfast, thinking it will help you get through your busy morning. But by mid-morning, you're already thinking about what your next snack is going to be because you're feeling hungry again. Your blood sugar has crashed, and you're left struggling with the energy dip. What's worse, your body is now storing the fat from that pastry around your organs. It's like your body is holding on to all the wrong things, and it's not doing you any favors. And let's not forget about your mood. After that sugar crash, you're bound to feel irritable and sluggish. It's not just physical, your brain is affected too. The quick burst of energy from sugar might give you that temporary lift, but when it dips, it can leave you feeling down, distracted, and low on motivation. So, what started as a morning treat becomes an emotional roller coaster. How many times have you experienced this? You start the morning on a high, thinking that pastry will make your day a little better, but by the time lunch rolls around, you're in a funk and craving more sugar just to keep going. In the end, while a pastry may seem like an innocent, comforting breakfast choice, it's far from being a healthy one. It's loaded with sugars and unhealthy fats, gives you little nutritional value, and leaves you feeling sluggish, hungry, and sometimes even moody. The calorie-dense nature of pastries means they don't fill you up, leaving your body in a state where it's more likely to store fat and put your health at risk. So, the next time you find yourself reaching for a muffin or croissant in the morning, remember that what seems like a treat could actually be a long-term health problem in disguise. A little indulgence here and there might be okay, but making pastries a regular part of your breakfast? Well, that's a recipe for disaster. It's important to note that hunger can sometimes cloud our judgment. When your stomach is growling and you're in a rush, grabbing a bowl of cereal, a slice of bacon, or a pastry might feel like a quick fix. But as you age, these seemingly small choices start to add up. Over time, they can lead to bigger health problems that are harder to reverse. The good news is that there are plenty of alternatives that are just as quick and far better for your body. Oatmeal, Greek yogurt, eggs, and whole grain toast are excellent examples of nourishing options that provide the energy and nutrients you need without sabotaging your health. The goal here isn't to demonize certain foods or make you feel guilty about past choices. It's about empowering you to make better ones moving forward. Every meal is an opportunity to fuel your body and set the tone for your day. So the next time you're deciding what to have for breakfast, remember this. Those sugary cereals, processed meats, and pastries might look tempting, but they're not worth the price your body has to pay in the long run. Stick with options that support your health and give you the energy you need to tackle whatever comes your way.